And China is among the countries raising taxes on cigarettes. The World Health Organization shows only 19 countries haven't done so. Eastern and Western Europe have the world's highest smoking rates, but they also have the highest tax rates on cigarettes. Tax makes up for more than 3/4 of the price of a pack of cigarettes. Oceania and South Africa come after with rates between 51% and 75%. In Asia, China and India have rates between below 50%. Now, the taxes have cut tobacco use and the health issues associated with it, and they've also generated revenue for government. All right, for more on this, we're joined now by Liu. He's a professor of finance at Washington University's Olin School of Business in St. Louis. Professor Liu, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Professor, the tax on cigarettes was raised from 5% to 11% by China's Ministry of Finance. Now, the World Health Organization has praised the tax hike, but did stress that the additional cost really needs to be passed on to consumers for it to be effective. How will this wholesale tax be passed on to the consumers?
Well, this time the excess tax is on the wholesale price. And you already see that in the market that the retail price has increased about 10%. So it's well past actually so far, but still it's not going to be enough to really control the tobacco consumption in China.
And that's a big concern because this tax rate is very low. The current tax rate far below the level recommended by the World Health Organization, which is 70% of the retail price. So you agree that this is just not enough to deter smokers?
This is far from enough. I think for Chinese government to really control and reduce the tobacco consumption in China, there are several measures that have to be taken. First, the tax rate has to be increased dramatically. 70% probably is not going to be enough. And in addition, that there is this enforcement of a ban on smoking in public areas. So they recently passed some laws to ban public area smoking, but it's very hardly enforced. And third, it's very important to actually improve the education, because in China, many people view as a non-smoker male as antisocial. So that type of perspective has to be changed. And another, yes, go ahead.
No, carry on. What is another deterrent that the government needs to enact?
Another one is on this tax leaf taxation. Actually, that type of taxation should be eliminated. That's because that revenue goes to the local government, and so the local government actually has incentive to increase tobacco production.
Well, let's talk about these taxes. China has 300 million smokers. 7 to 10% of government tax revenue comes from cigarettes. 41% of the world's cigarettes are made in China. So given that tobacco sales are a key source of income for the Chinese government, does cracking down on it in a way pose a conflict of interests?
Yes, because it's on almost $1 trillion tax revenue, any reduction can be significant. However, on the other hand, there is also significant medical cost and also environmental cost, health cost. So the Chinese government should balance this to really reduce this type of tobacco consumption, and also takes into account that there is about 740 million non-smokers actually exposed to secondary smoking. So this type of negative externality is not fully taken into account.
Well, you mentioned that the State Council, China's cabinet, has issued a draft regulation to ban smoking indoors, limit outdoor smoking, and end tobacco ads. Where does that stand at the moment in terms of enactment?
It's still in the stage that it's seeking feedback and suggestions. And some cities already have implemented or soon implement, like Beijing and Shanghai. However, I must caution that the most important thing is that they need to enforce this type of ban, because there are a large number of laws. If it cannot be enforced, then it's not going to be effective at all.
Yeah, Professor Liu, critics do say that the bans are there, but that smokers in China really ignore them, and that they really aren't enforced. But assuming these bans do go through, and now with this tax hike on the wholesale price, what impact is this going to have on the cigarette industry at large in China?
The elasticity of demand for tobacco in China is around minus 0.3, so it's not that sensitive. So reasonable estimate of the impact on producers' profit is about 0.2%. The tobacco farmers' profit is about 1.5%. So it's not going to affect much.
All right, clearly a lot more needs to be done if smoking needs to really be curbed in China. We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you, Professor Hong Liu, Professor of Finance at Washington University's Olin School of Business.